Welcome back. We are here again with Adam Brooks for another awesome Whole Life Vitality
Hopefully.
podcast.
If it's not awesome, it won't be your fault.
I was like, we are both here and we are both awesome. So it has to be awesome.
I just hope I can bring my A game for you.
Does awesome plus awesome equal awesome?
I think it's awesome squared, but it's hip to be a square.
Awesome. I have heard that. Hip, hip.
Hooray.
Hip to be square.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was thinking, like 0 times anything
Is zero.
is 0.
So there was a thing that I heard just recently that neurotypical people exchange niceties like cats meow at each other. The words don't matter. It's just seeing if someone will respond to you pleasantly.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I think we just neurodivergently did that. We just exchanged a lot of random words that didn't mean anything but expressed energy,
Meow, here's what we're going to talk about today, meow. Yeah.
Meow, ma'am, we need to have a serious conversation, meow.
That's the one. All right, friends. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we are here to talk about today this really just fascinating topic that Adam brought to me.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about it?
So hyperfixation is a real buzzword, right?
Okay.
People in my world of social media talk about it a lot. And they use it in a lot of different ways. Some people use it to describe like a hobby that they have. Some people use it to describe something they feel kind of obsessed about. Some people use it to describe compulsions.
Okay.
But it's
something that you focus in on and can't focus away from,
right, or
easily?
So hyper more than
Sure.
fixation, you fixate on it, right? So it's pretty self-explanatory. But it seems like it's all being used to describe diving into something with a lot of intensity. And I had this thought the other day.
Passion.
Yeah, passion, more passion,
Yeah.
more energy.
That's right.
So I had this thought the other day about hyperfixation and feedback loops and how if it's anything like what I'm imagining, hyperfixation could be us assigning a value to something.
Okay.
So let's say, for instance, I decide I am more valuable if I can figure out everything there is to know about edible plants. Right?
Okay.
Knowing something about edible plants will make me more powerful, it will make me more valuable, and it will add to my life.
And you're assigning the value.
Of course. And
So-
and maybe I assign the value because it naturally piqued my interest, or
Sure.
maybe I assign the value based on something somebody else said. But I assign the values consciously or subconsciously.
Because sometimes other people say things and we're like, that's stupid. There's no value there.
Right.
So just because someone else said it doesn't mean it's valuable.
So maybe I assign the value consciously or unconsciously, and then I achieve something towards that value.
Dude, level up, level up.
Exactly. Maybe I study something or learn something new or experience something new in that realm, and it feels like I level up and I get
Okay.
the dopamine hit from that
Yeah.
level up. And then
Feel accomplished.
because I got the dopamine hit, I want more, and it's an easy access source.
That's true.
So I repeat.
Yep.
Right? And so here I am in this loop of accepting the assigned value, achieving more in the assigned value, and then going back around to do it again. Just adding more and more stars on my belly.
Yeah.
Right?
All those stars upon theirs.
Going back through the machine over and
right.
over and over again. And that's a powerful thing to recognize if it's real. And I don't know how that applies for everyone because I'm just working inside my own head. But if we can recognize that pattern, doesn't it mean that we could consciously point it at something that would be helpful to us and not just something esoteric?
Well, let's take it really, really low level here.
Right.
And I know dogs and cats are smart, right? But I mean, humans, I would say, have higher intelligence than a dog.
I assume so.
Yeah, I would
because I'm
assume so.
human.
Right,
I like feeling smarter than
Sure.
people. Well, smarter than dogs.
Smarter than
and
dogs.
cats.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not in the dog's head, but
Yeah.
we learn by training animals that they do something, you give them positive reinforcement for it, and then they want to do it again.
Yeah.
And again and again and again.
Right.
And so that animalistic part of our brains, it seems like neurodivergent, neurospicy, neurotypical, everyone would have that kind of pleasure sensor that would say, oh yeah, I liked that, let's do it again.
So you think that feedback loop could be used by anyone?
I think it's more universal than just neurodivergent people.
So if that's the case, how do you think someone could go about pointing it at something and utilizing it, making it a tool gaming it, if you will.
It's so interesting that you're asking this because, gosh, it had to have been like 6 months ago. You get stuck in those like deep thoughts and you're working through something. And I turned to Steven, my husband, and I said, I'm just trying to figure out how to help my clients understand how to trick themselves into doing things. And he said, trick themselves? Why do they have to trick themselves? And I'd say he is...
Well, because traditional methods are used up.
Right.
Right.
He's much more neurotypical than I am. I'd say we all have our own little quirks, but our brains definitely work differently, he and I. And so tricking didn't seem like a negative to me. It just seemed like how do I start that feedback loop?
Yeah. How do you game the system?
Yeah. How do I like jumpstart the car into that cycle of positive feedback?
Funny.
Right.
Because he's looking at a specific set of rules, like you put the key in, you turn the key, the car starts.
Right.
Right. And you're like, no, there's something broken in the system. Yeah. We have to do it a different way. How do I do it the different way?
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
And like what you're saying, like how do we use that to our advantage? How do we harness that energy? And that's kind of what I was asking him too. So did you have any thoughts about that?
Well, as we're talking about it right now, the ideas that come to mind are if we find something to which we have a predisposition and then actively point this process at it, then that would be a good start. So say, for instance, you like fitness, right? Yeah. But it's hard for you to do the things that you appreciate in the fitness realm. Then maybe you start with, I'm going to actively game this system to start priming that feedback loop. So you say, this is the small thing that I'm going to do. This is the reward I'm going to give myself. And then I'll try again. Right? And so you start small to see if you can build some momentum there. And you give yourself an actual physical reward to see if you can prime that dopamine center.
Yeah.
So for instance, if your reward is, I like this specific coffee drink, or I like this walk in the park, or I like this TV show, or I like this friend, then you prime that by saying, after I do the difficult thing, I immediately reward myself with the reward.
Yeah.
And the loop begins.
When I used to be very Biggest Loser obsessed way back in the day when Biggest Loser was a lot less toxic and still on the air.
Sure.
And I don't even remember what day it came on, but I would get home from work and I would go to the gym and I would get on the treadmill in time to turn on The Biggest Loser so that I could watch it while I was on the treadmill.
Nice.
And it was just my carrot. It was my carrot that got me on that treadmill. And then I really enjoyed being there and watching it. But that was my like positive reinforcement for that. But I think so many times those things that we want and like kind of tricking ourselves into that positive feedback loop are things that we want, but also our mindset is like kind of not all in. So fitness, for instance, has enough negative built up in it that like, oh, that should be hard or that should be uncomfortable or I shouldn't want to do that.
It's not enough unless I'm uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. So yesterday I was thinking, man, I haven't done a workout today. Yeah, I really should go do this workout, and shitting on myself is always fun. And looked back over the course of my day and realized that I had done like 5 micro workouts with clients over the course of the day.
Awesome.
And I was like, it's fine. I enjoyed that. I didn't even feel like working out. That was just fun.
Right.
And if you give yourself the space to find something or change your mind, is this thing that you would like to start a loop with something that you could potentially at some point think, I get to do that instead of I have to do that?
I like that shift in the mindset. And something you made me think of was perhaps you shift the mindset by recognizing the successes you have naturally and giving yourself credit for those first, so that you take some of the weight off of beginning by jump starting the loop. Right. So you skip right past, I have to do this first before I get the reward. And you celebrate, look at the things I did that fit into this loop, take credit, feel the reward, move forward to take another step.
Yeah.
So maybe I look around and I think I need to be more active in fitness since this is the thing we're talking about. And then I think, well, today I was changing wheel bearings on a car, which required a lot of standing up and sitting down. I basically did 100 body weight squats.
At least.
And I'm sore and my legs hurt and my biceps are worn out. Like I'm exhausted. that's progress on a fitness journey. There's nothing wrong with that. I can celebrate that. I can reward myself the way I would. And then the next step I take can be either toward an active workout or toward celebrating active lifestyle outside of the gym. Because I was talking to my son this morning about him working out. He was saying that he wants to go to the gym, but he feels held back because he doesn't have a job and he can't pay for the gym membership. And the first thing I wanted him to recognize is that you don't have to do the things that are stopping you before you do the thing you want to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hang on. Will you just say that again?
Okay.
That's so good.
You don't have to do the things that are stopping you before you do the thing you want to do. You can skip right past the obstacles you have put in your way and just step straight up to the thing you want to do.
Because perhaps we're putting obstacles in our way because we don't want to go all in.
Maybe. Or maybe we've built a habit of thinking there's only one way to do things.
Okay.
Maybe we've built a habit of saying the way we make money is to get a job. Or maybe we've built a habit of saying the way we work out is to go to the gym. Or maybe we've built a habit of saying to go to the store and get groceries, I get in my car, right? But each time we see a destination goal, there are multiple paths to get there.
Yep.
And there's nothing that says that we can't just bypass the things we don't have and get to the destination goal. So what I was hoping he would gather from that is that if he wants to work out, he has body weight.
Yeah.
He can move.
Yeah.
He can run, he can jog, he can squat, he can push up, he can handstand. Like there are innumerable things that he can do to shape the way his body is and feels. And he can bypass all of that going to the gym and just make progress towards what he wants to do.
The gym doesn't automatically make us fit.
Right. But I mean, there is some comfort in doing a thing in a prescribed place, in a prescribed way, right? We can feel some comfort there. Take some of the self-consciousness out of it, and maybe we slip into a rhythm of the people around us. But
so hacking the system by slipping into a system that already exists.
Yeah, it can be a thing. I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you feel unmotivated to wash your car, maybe go to a car wash. People are washing their cars there, and it feels like the right place to do it.
There you go.
And maybe it costs a couple dollars extra, but it's what you do, and it's no big deal.
Yep.
You go to the place where it's what you do. But I think that if we take definite steps towards the thing, it can start that loop.
Yeah.
There was once a time when I felt like I wanted to be more active and shape my body a little bit more. And I literally just started finding heavy things and picking them up, right? Like on the back patio where I was staying, somebody had left this like sawhorse made out of rebar. And I would go out every morning and pick up the sawhorse made out of rebar and do curls with it.
How heavy was that thing?
Maybe 50 pounds, right? It wasn't terrible.
I'm just picturing like solid metal.
Nah, it's rebar.
I don't know how heavy rebar is.
It was maybe 50 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. But, sometimes I pick up solid metal. It's not a big deal.
That's true. You're very strong.
Urgh.
You pick things up and put them down all the time.
All the time. I had another thought on this. I apologize for being distracted for just a second. Oh, it kind of ties into what I was thinking about best practices. Do you think we have room for that?
We definitely have time, and I can actually cut out anything in the middle here that we don't want. But we're at 13 minutes.
Okay.
Before we sink into that, though, I wanted to...
Yeah, go ahead. I don't have to be in charge.
You're doing awesome. Now I lost my thought. Just a second. It'll come back.
Take as much as you need.
I wanted to address the dopamine that you get from that positive reinforcement.
Right.
And how when you plan something, when you achieve something, when you tell someone about the thing that you achieved, all of those things give you dopamine.
Each touch.
All of those things give you that positive feedback.
Yeah,
feel
good.
If you tell someone you're going to do something, that's not hacking the system, because that gives you dopamine before you get the dopamine.
It's kind of important to note, though, that if you use up all the dopamine from the activity in all of those touches without doing as much of the activity, sometimes it lessens the drive to do the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you get there and you're like, well, now it's time to go to the gym, or now it's time to go for a walk or whatever.
Do the dishes, or
do the
take
dishes.
a shower, brush your teeth.
But I don't want to anymore. I used it up. Like the desire to do that is gone, and the desire for that dopamine is gone because there's none left to get anyway.
I used to do that a lot, where I would spend a lot of time soaking up dopamine by making plans. and I would plan extensively. And then once I had the plan, I would tell people about my plans extensively. And then once I had made the plan and talked about the plan, the first step wasn't rewarding because it didn't give me as much satisfaction and happiness as the process before it.
Well, the planning gives so much dopamine.
It
The
can.
planning is so
You
much
can
fun.
live an entire world of success in the plan before you actually take a first step.
They have done studies on if you don't have the funds to go on a trip, to take a vacation, just plan it.
Yeah.
Just plan it, because you're going to get so much out of just planning it, so much joy out of just planning it, that maybe you'll be okay.
You know, I was thinking maybe we should start a place where you don't work out. You just plan your workouts.
There you go.
We could call it Plan It Fitness.
Oh my gosh. Stop it.
It could be really cool. You could sit down with a coach or a trainer and just put together a plan, and you could
Okay.
imagine and visualize how wonderful you're going to feel when you're all fit.
It sounds like January at every gym. It is New Year's resolutions at every gym.
So, with that in mind, one of the things that made the biggest difference for me was exercising a little bit of discipline to stop me from using up my dopamine before I took an actual step.
Okay.
So I
Delayed
saw
gratification.
a little. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just had to be a little. I had to stop talking about it. I had to stop planning it. And I had to do just enough in the first few touches to get me to the actual implementation. I have a friend just recently who was struggling because they felt like they couldn't go back to work at a normal job. They had to start their own business because they just couldn't enter the workforce. And so they did a bunch of research and found happiness and satisfaction there. And then they purchased supplies for their new business and they found happiness and satisfaction there. And then when the time came to take the first steps into the business, it was all used up.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a really important balance to note. If you get too caught up in the things that are precursors to success, you can essentially spoil the activity by living too much of the happiness before you actually take the first step.
What about a deadline?
What about a deadline?
Well, I just know for me personally, with, my specific type of neurospicy, if I know that I have a deadline, and this might be a maturity thing, I don't know that I would have done this as a teenager, but if I know I have a deadline, then I budget my cookies a little bit better.
Oh,
And so I have a few left at the end to hit that deadline. But also, that deadline gives me that push,
adrenaline.
the adrenaline that kind of feeds where the dopamine might be running a little low.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I have heard that a lot of people who struggle with time management will give themselves artificial deadlines.
Right.
And if they can believe the artificial deadline,
Right.
then they can actually use it to accomplish important things. Right.
How about you? Because some people, deadlines shut them down.
Yeah, I haven't thought much about deadlines in a long time. I structure my life in such a way that I'm
You do
fluid,
what you want.
and flexible.
Yeah.
My schedule is my own. So if I'm imposing any kind of deadlines, it's for something like I value timeliness.
Right.
And I feel life satisfaction when I am true to that. So if I show up somewhere on time, it makes me feel good to be doing something that I value,
Yeah.
to be doing something that I admire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not necessarily that I've given myself a deadline, but definitely something where I've given myself a window in which to accomplish something. And by arriving in that window, I can check a box and say, I'm doing a thing I'm proud of.
Yeah. That's awesome. Which would give you dopamine.
It does. All the time. All the dopamine.
And around we go.
And around and around and around and around.
So, do you think there's a way to hack the system? Do you think there's a way to settle into that loop?
Absolutely, yes. And I think the two different ways that I've thought about are one, more energy intensive and more expensive.
Okay.
And that is pointing the system with all the hacks available at things that are high priority but low interest.
Okay.
So say, for instance, you find yourself in employment that you don't necessarily enjoy,
Right.
but it's essential to your well-being. So then you point that system of reward and repeat at elements of high importance Or if you're looking for higher life satisfaction, you point the system at things that naturally occur to you of value. So self-discovery allows you to find inexpensive sources of dopamine where you can say, this is something I naturally value. I'm proud of myself when I do it.
Yeah.
And I can recognize it and feel good about it, and recognize it and feel good about it, and repeat with very low invested.
So do you have anything like that you've done for yourself?
Okay, the most recent one, I was talking about time management, and that's one that comes pretty passively to me. I appreciate when people are on time. I'm proud of myself when I'm on time.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a whole lot of effort for me to plan to be on time. And then when I am on time, I feel good about it.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
But the most recent one that I thought was really amusing is very low invested effort. It's just recognition, and it makes me feel good and kind of adds to my baseline happiness. I was standing in your kitchen the other day, and the thought occurred to me, I'm part of a subset of people who park their cars in their garage, which might seem silly, but to me that says a few things. A, I have a garage,
Yeah.
which is cool.
That's pretty cool.
Makes me feel good.
We
to
worked
have-
hard to get those garages.
Exactly. Yeah. We were able to buy a house.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work. I really worked hard to get there. I have a car to put in that garage, which also took a lot of work, and maintaining that car is something that I'm pretty proud of. And also the garage isn't full of stuff,
Yeah.
which is a big deal for me because I have a little bit of hoarder trauma.
Dude.
Yes.
Same. I
And
feel like we share some sort of like background or something.
Yeah, by nature and
So
by nurture,
weird.
we share a bit. But putting those things together, I said, this is something that I can actively point myself at, find life satisfaction that doesn't cost me much, but helps me to recognize that I'm living the life that I want.
Oh, that is so great. So you found something that already existed that you could be grateful for.
Yes.
Which gives you not only dopamine, but, serotonin, oxytocin, like you
Right.
get all those
All
feel-good
the
hormones.
good feels. Well, and not just something that I could be grateful for, but something that I could feel proud of.
Yeah.
Something that I could point to as a visual reminder of me living things that I value.
Already winning.
Yeah. That there are elements of my life where I am proud of the life I'm living, and it's okay for me to not do more beyond that.
Yeah.
I don't have to reach for someone else's values. I don't have to reach for someone else's accomplishment. There are things that I naturally feel are valuable, and I'm living them.
That is so awesome.
It was really powerful.
Yeah. And I think that everybody has something like that. I tell
hope
people,
so.
I think so. I mean, I tell people that when you are feeling really low, and, this kind of points back to the podcast we did last time, but when you're feeling really low, look at what you like in yourself or in your environment. Like find something that you're actually happy about, that you actually enjoy or are grateful for, that you know to be true. And it might be something so trivial like my eyes work. Like I can see.
There you go.
And I'm happy about that because I am. Like no matter how low I am still happy that my eyeballs work.
For me, this realization was really powerful because I had become disenchanted with that realization. And I had to look at what are things that I do, things that I actively do, things that I choose, ways that I shape the world around me that I'm pleased with.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with Ben, actually, and we were talking...
Our other brother.
One of them.
One of them.
And we were talking about moral systems of value. And how without an externally imposed moral system of value, such as you might find in a religion or a club or an organization,
Government.
a government, yeah, without a big externally imposed system, sometimes it's difficult to know if you're winning or losing.
Who says what's good? Who
Right.
says what's bad?
And how do you know if you're doing good or bad
Yeah.
if you don't have a big system that tells you? And so in that conversation, the realization hit me that if you want to, at low energy, with low invested capital, know if you're feeling good or if you're doing good or bad, know if you're doing enough or not enough, discover the things that are valuable to you.
Right. It is looking internally and seeing what are your core values and
Exactly.
what do you think is important.
And how do you measure up against them?
Right.
Because if one of your core values is, it's important to me to take care of the body I have, and those are decisions that I can make on a regular basis, then you examine how well you're doing that.
Right.
And if that's not your core value, then you discover what is one of your core values.
Yep.
And then you measure yourself against those core values. Because measuring yourself against an external set of standards can be very expensive.
Yeah.
It can take an enormous amount of effort to measure up to those standards and still not feel fulfilling.
And we all like different things. We all value different things.
Obviously.
I had this conversation with a client the other day. I was in her living room talking, and we were doing some sort of very like throwback to the 80s Jane Fonda kind of like workout move. And she was laughing about it. And
Were you buns of stealing?
pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Okay.
And she said, I remember doing this move or watching my mom do this move on a video when I was
Amazing.
a kid. And I said, yeah, I remember that too. And I just thought, those people are so cool. And she goes, and that is how we are different.
We are not the same.
She's like, you saw value in that. And I thought, those people are stupid.
I have to tell you, I have never been able to value exercises where I do the same things as other people in the same rhythm. It's so hard for me.
Interesting.
I don't like line dances either. When I'm
Yeah.
doing the same thing as everybody else at the same time, in the same way, it does not give back to me.
Wow.
I know.
You're like, you need to be unique. You need to be a little different.
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think it's that I value the autonomy of my own movements. And if I'm doing everything the way everyone else is doing them, they're not mine.
Yeah. You
It's hard for me to
feel
value them if they're not mine.
like you're conforming.
Quite.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
conformity doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's such a interesting distinction between feeling like one and with the community and we're all like doing this together versus feeling like you're conforming. And it's essentially the same thing, but with a different mindset.
It's a melting pot versus a salad bowl.
Yeah.
I don't like to be absorbed into a group. I like to maintain some autonomy.
Yeah.
But I do like to be in the group. I like to feel like part of the group. I just don't like to be the group.
So funny. You said melting pot and I was like, I want to sit in that hot tub.
Yeah, you do.
That feels so good.
Be the soup.
I want to be in that
Be
soup.
the soup.
Oh my gosh, that's so fantastic. So if people are going to take away anything from this episode, is there anything that you're like, yes, go and carry this with you?
I hope people find their own things to take away from this episode. But if I were going to point to one thing, I would say if there's something in your way that's keeping you from doing the thing you value, then step past it, move around
Yeah.
it, go over it, under it. It doesn't matter. Get away from the thing that's in your way and do the thing you value. And if you really don't want to do that, maybe reevaluate if the thing you value is actually something you value.
Oh, that is so good. What is it that Zoe said the other day? She said, everything
That's my wife.
she's awesome. Everything that you want is on the other side of this thing
Yeah.
that is holding you back.
Everything you
And-
want is on the other side of the thing that's bad for you.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she said it
it's-
about a relationship, but I
she
think
did.
it applies everywhere.
I wrote it down.
Yeah.
She said it and I was like,
very
oh, that
powerful.
is so powerful. It is so
Yeah.
good because it is 100% accurate.
Well, and the harder you cling to the thing that you shouldn't have, the more you lose the things you should.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's along
Yeah.
those lines. Yeah.
And the things that you want.
Yeah.
The thing that isn't good for you versus the thing that you ultimately want, because these things have to go somewhere to have space for the thing that you ultimately
Exactly.
want.
Make room.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, guys. What did you like about this podcast? Is there anything that you're going to take from it that you're like, oh, I just love that so much?
Or maybe just spill the hate. Tell us how we're wrong.
Oh yeah, we're here for both of those things. Actually, we like all the comments. So like, subscribe, comment, follow. We're on every social media platform. This is Adam Brooks, Lauren Whiteurst. We will see you next time. Bye, friends.
See you.